Shavua Tov and Hag Sameach to everyone.
Chag
A,
Sameach.
a good week and a wonderful holiday. I am delighted to be here. It's me, Rabbi Dennis, and Nikki Cohen, our musical director, is here to cover all those pieces you don't want me to do. And we are just delighted to be able to celebrate with you and tell the story of our people once again. We are going to be using this week, this Seder, the Jew Belong Seder, which nice, clever pun, and you know I love puns. And it has some very charming aspects to it. And we're going to have a rogues gallery of people who are going to pop in and out to help us out with the different elements of the service. So we're going to begin by just saying you should stay on mute. I'm sorry. It is the most unnatural condition for a Jew, but it does allow us to do what we need to do. And Nikki will be singing. Now, the good side is that if you're on mute, you can sing as loud and off key as you want to join us with these songs. We're going to do a mix of traditional Passover pieces as well as some fun pieces using some modern and familiar music to do in English. And I hope that you'll be entertained by the different features of that. So we're going to begin in our Jew Belong Seder on the page with the elephant at our Passover Seder. There is an elephant in the room that would like some attention, and perhaps it's time we give it to him because it might literally be a matter of life and death for some of us. This elephant has been around as long as the Jewish people, but he's gotten a little meaner and scarier since the last Passover. And that elephant is anti-Jewish hatred. There's the familiar white supremacy movement that seems to hate everyone that doesn't look like them. And the more subtle, I really don't mean it when I talk nasty things about Jews. I didn't put in that word in there. And a relatively new and insidious form of hostility that's directed against our people in Israel, which too often crosses the line from simply criticism to anti-Jewish hate. Hate is hate, however, whether it involves Jews, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, atheists, everyone is the worst for it. We are going to end it. We're not going to end it tonight, but that doesn't give us permission to throw up our hands and just accept what goes on, to make excuses, to minimize it or discount it. It's exactly the opposite. We have to talk about it, write about it, learn about it, call it out. This is a time for all Jews and all supporters of Jews to be extra courageous. Now, if we flip over to page 8, we begin with a summary. You may feel free to join me if you wish, but I'm going to read this. On this night, we retrace our steps from then to now, reclaiming years of desert wandering. On this night, we ask questions, ancient and new, speaking of servitude and liberation, service and joy. On this night, we welcome each soul, sharing stories of courage, strength, and faith. On this night, we open doors long closed, lifting our voices in songs of praise. On this night, we renew ancient hopes and dreams of a future redeemed. On this night, we gather around Seder tables, remembering our passage from bondage to freedom. On this night, we journey from now to then, telling the story of our people's birth. Now, my camera is a little low. I'm going to a little high. There you can see our Seder plate. I do have the circle of light right down here to help us not look so pasty. And it's got all of the normal things you expect, all the things we're going to be referring to. However, this year we have an addition. Now, there are many additions that people have put on their Seder plates, starting with the famous orange, which began as a symbol of the presence of women and feminist consciousness in Judaism. And we've gone on to many, many other objects. However, this year, we want to emphasize what I've put in the middle here. It's called Ruth's Mix. Ruth, as in the story of, is the great-grandmother of King David and was part of an interfaith family. Ruth's Mix welcomes everyone to the Seder table and honors the growing diversity of the Jewish people, those who were born Jewish, those who converted to Judaism, and those who are not Jewish, and those who just show up to sing and drink. Everyone takes a bit of Ruth's mix, a combination of almonds, raisins, and chocolate chips. Each of these ingredients stands as good on its own, but when they're mixed together, it's even better. It's a trail mix, like when Ruth walked all the way from Moab to Bethlehem. She had to eat something on the way, right? Together, everyone who shares in a Jewish life feel welcome and integrated. We lovingly acknowledge the diversity of our community, and we are deeply grateful for the love and support that the non-Jews provide by opening their hearts to Judaism, no matter how big or small a part they play. Your presence at this Jewish experience is valued. It's not just taken for granted because not everyone in this broken world will sit at a Shabbat table or attend a Passover Seder. We are a very small people, and the history has made us smaller. But yet, as we once again see a rise in hatred and hear fear in the voice of our community, we are grateful for you. We are grateful for your presence. We pray with all our hearts. You give to the Jewish people, what you give to the Jewish people will come back to you and fill your life with joy. And let us say, Amen. Now, we come to our first song. This one is a simple English song based on Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And if you're on page 9, you have the text. I'm going to leave it to this lady to sing this one.
All right. Everyone ready? Take us out of Egypt, free us from slavery. Bake us some matzah in a haste. Don't worry about flavor, give no thought to taste. Oh, it's rush, rush, rush to the Red Sea. If we don't cross, it's a shame, for it's 10 plagues down and you're out at the Pesach game.
So with that, we are going to carry on. I am informed that we have a little number disagreement, but where we should be is what I have listed as page 10, the Seder order introduction, and
I have page 6.
Page 6. See, there's the problem. There's the problem. Okay, so maybe Nikki will be the page caller also.
Okay.
But in any case, we are going to we're going to go over the 14. There are 14 elements to Passover Seder, and Nikki is going to sing us through the 14.
I'm going to sing you through.
Oh, yeah. Or
okay, that's
yeah.
fine. That's fine. Going to sing you through. All right. Kadesh. This is where we start. Kadesh uvravat karapashiat magid vrahatza motzi matzah. Now in English. Praise God for fruit of vine, and you may drink 1 cup of wine. In salt you dip some green, break the matzah in between. Of 3 matzot on the tray, take 1 piece to hide away. Read how God set Israel free, rescued us from slavery. Verse 5. Matzah you bless and eat, with bitter herbs roasted sweet. At last the meal takes place, but before you say the grace, find the afikomen and bring the supper to an end. Then recite the Psalms of praise. Final thanks to God we raise.
Which was fantastic.
Thank you.
But misleading, because in fact, on our online Seder, we are not going to break for dinner in the middle, as is customary, because I'm just going to carry you all through to the end, and you can do whatever you do after that. You can break out your matzah, you can break out your muffins, you can do whatever your family's planning to do, but stick with us to the very end for now. All right, we are now going to the candle lighting. and this is an opportunity to bring in our first special guest star. We are asking Sarah Muniz to light the candles of Yom Tov for us.
Hello.
Unmute yourself there, Sarah.
I'm unmuted on my end. Can you hear me?
Find the microphone.
We can hear you, Sarah.
Can you hear me?
What's that say?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I don't know what page we're on, but the next page, I think 8. The day ends, the earth turns from sunshine to dusk and then to darkness. We assume for ourselves the task of kindling candles in the night to enlighten the dark corners of our world. We still live in perilous times behind us, though receding into the memories of even the oldest among us. We can still sense the fires of Auschwitz and Hiroshima before us, the threat of acts of terrorism and guns violence. We gather tonight to create from fire not the heat of destruction, but the light of instruction. Indeed, to see more clearly the wisdom, strength, and caring that glows from within each of us. Together, may these, oh, I guess I can't light it. Got a torch to light. Okay.
Is the volume on the computer?
All right, together may these candles lit on the festival of freedom bring light into our hearts and minds. May they renew our courage to act for justice and freedom here and now. May they illumine the path to justice, truth, justice, and peace, and so we repeat the ancient blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'nimitz tov v'nitzvanu leker lekner shel Yom Tov. We praise God, Spirit of everything, who has made us distinct through your directives and has directed us to kindle the holiday lights.
Thank you, Sarah. We really appreciate you taking your time and being involved in that. So we come now to the first of 4 cups. Remember, there are 4 cups, 4 children, 4 questions. It seems to be a theme. I'm not sure why. But in any case, we start with 1 cup of wine. So if you have one in front of you, fill it up as I've filled up mine. And you're going to take time. And if you have it, it's a good time to push back in your Barca Lounger, hang out and lean and enjoy. And you're welcome to lean on this too, my dear.
Thank you.
All right, because we are a free people, and that is a symbol of that. So we begin with celebrating the joy of wine, which is the greatest symbol in Judaism of expressing joy, because it's a practical way to increase that joy. The Seder starts with the first cup of wine and gives us 3 more opportunities to refill the cup and drink. Are you ready, everyone? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Orei peri hagafen l'chaim.
Hi.
Ah.
Just pretend this is wine.
And now we turn to Kadesh, the next element in our service. And we're going to start out with Nikki singing to the tune of Frere Jacques, Roasted Shank Bone.
All right. And this is on your page 11. Page 11. We can do it in a round if you really want to. Just feel free. Roasted shank bone, roasted shank bone, hard-boiled egg, hard-boiled egg, carpus and charoset, carpus and charoset, bitter herbs, bitter herbs.
We say this year we are slaves. What do we mean by these words? We are slaves because yesterday our people were in slavery, and memory makes yesterday real for us. We are slaves because today there are still people in chains around the world, and none of us can be truly free while others are still in chains. We are slaves because freedom means more than broken chains. Where there is poverty, hunger, homelessness, there is no meaningful freedom. Where there is prejudice and bigotry and discrimination, there is no meaningful freedom. Where there is violence and torture and war, there is no freedom. Where each of us is less than he might be, we are not fully free, not yet. And who this year can be deaf to the continuing oppression of the downtrodden? Who can be blind to the burdens and rigors that are now to be added to the most vulnerable in our midst? If these things be so, who among us can say that he or she is fully free? Therefore, we turn now to Urchatz, all right?
Page 12.
And that is the washing of hands. Now, you're going to watch me reenact the flood that occurred here at Kol Ami. Are you ready? All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right. Now I'm going to switch hands. 1, 2, 3. And now we can take care of that carpet problem. Water is refreshing, cleansing, and clear, so it's easy to understand why so many cultures and religious traditions use water for symbolic purification. Washing hands can take place up to twice during the Seder, now with no blessing to get ready for the rituals to come, and later with a blessing preparing us for the meal. And now we come to the first element, karpas, all right? Green vegetables in salt water. Passover, like many of our holidays, combines the celebration of an event from our history and memory and a recognition of the cycles of nature. As we remember our liberation from Egypt, we also recognize the stirring of spring and the rebirth happening in the world around us. So now we take a vegetable, parsley, okay, representing spring, and we historize it, as it were, by dipping it in salt water, a symbol of the tears our ancestors shed at Slave. Both hope and sadness come together. Before we eat it, we recite a short blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'adamah. And now I will do the honors. There we go. You too may enjoy, if one could say such words, the eating of parsley. And we praise God, the spirit of everything, who creates the fruit of the vine. And now we come to Yachatz, all right?
13.
The breaking of the middle matzah. Now, if we go over here to this secret matzah folder, we'll go inside, and there are 3 layers in here, top, bottom, and middle, and out of the middle, I will mysteriously extract this matzah. And then, even more mysteriously, I will egregiously break it in half. Oh, not bad, not bad. Okay, it's not even, but you know, okay, it's a little higher up at this end than at the other end. By the way, the trick that some rabbis use to get a regular split is just to run a little water down one of the ridges over and over again. And it'll split perfectly, but I'm not fake, I'm authentic. So now, we eat matzah in memory of the quick flight of our ancestors from Egypt. As slaves, they had faced many false starts before finally being let go. So when the word of their freedom came, they took whatever dough they had and ran before it had the chance to rise, leaving it looking something like this. Not really. This was made by a machine. Shh, don't tell anyone. Uncover and hold all these matzot. This is the bread of poverty, which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. So all who are hungry, have something to eat. All who are needy, come and celebrate the holiday with us. This year, we are here next year will hopefully be in the public square and in Israel. This year, we are slaves, we are prisoners. Next year, may we all be free.
And together.
And together. Now, I put part of this back where it came from, and the other part I keep to be the afikomen, which is now disappearing from your view. It's out of your view, you can't see it, and we will return to that theme a little later. So now I'm inviting our next guest stars, the Dukar family, to come on in and do the 4 sons or the 4 children.
Page 15.
Rabbi, I think we skipped the Bourne family.
Are those the Dukars? That's the, that's the
All right,
Bournes.
Bournes. Okay, these are the 4 questions on page 14.
Oh, no, we are ahead of ourselves.
Oh,
We need the 4,
you need the, you have it.
what, we have a mix up here?
We have the 4 sons after.
Oh, okay, yes, I'm sorry. There's a mix up here, so she's got it right. So the Bournes are exactly the people we need to be saying. Hi, Bournes. It's good to see you guys. All right, would you lead us in the 4 questions? Manish Tana.
מה נשתנה הלילה הזה מכל הלילות, מכל הלילות, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה, חמץ ומצה, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, כולו מצה, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, כולו מצה, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שיער ירקות, שיער ירקות, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, מרור, מרור, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, מרור, מרור, שבכל הלילות אין אנו מכירים אפילו פעמך, אפילו פעמך, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, שתי ימים, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, שתי ימים, שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים בין ישנו ומסובים, בין ישנו ומסובים, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, כולנו מסובים, הלילה הזה, הלילה הזה, כולנו מסובים.
Bye.
That was magnificent. That was wonderful and delightful visually as well. Almost as delightful visually is the Dukars, who are going to be leading us in the 4 sons.
Page 15.
All right. As we tell the story, we think about it from all angles. Our tradition speaks of 4 different types of children who react individually to the Passover Seder. It is our job to make our story accessible to all the members of our community. What does the wise child say? The wise child asks, what are the testimonies and laws which God commands you? You must teach this child the rules of observing the holiday of Passover. What does the wicked child say? The wicked child asks, what does this service mean to you? To you and not to himself. because he takes himself out of the community and misses the point. Say to him, it is because of what God did for me in taking me out of Egypt. Me, not him. Had that child been there, he would have been left behind. So what does the simple child say? Well, the simple child asks, what is this? To this child, answer plainly, with a strong hand, God took us out of Egypt where we were slaves. And what about the child who doesn't know how to ask a question? That's a good question to ask itself. Well, help this child by saying, start telling the story. It's because of what God did for me in taking me out of Egypt.
Thank you, Steve. I think you captured the mood of each and every one of those children in your face. That was fantastic. So now we're going to go on to the Exodus story. What if God had not taken our ancestors out of Egypt? Then we would still be enslaved to Pharaoh in Egypt, along with our children and our children's children. So even if all of us were wise, all of us discerning, all of us scholars, all of us knowledgeable in the Torah, it's still a mitzvah for us to retell the story of the Exodus from Egypt, and the more we elaborate on it, the more meritorious it is. So we're going to sing now Avadim Chayinu, the song which summarizes everything about this holiday. We're not usually this reductionist, but this covers it all. We were once slaves in Egypt, now we're free.
All right. Avadim hayinu hayinu, ata b'nei horim b'nei horim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei horim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei horim b'nei horim.
Our next featured guest, who is going to be retelling to us the story of the Exodus, is Melissa Hart.
Once upon a time, our people went into Galut, exile, in the land of Egypt. During a famine, our ancestor Jacob and his family fled to Egypt, where food was plentiful. Through a complicated set of plot twists, his son Joseph had risen to high position in Pharaoh's court, and our people were well respected and well regarded, secure in the power structure of the time. Generations passed, and our people remained in Egypt. As rulers came and went, a new Pharaoh ascended to the throne. He felt threatened by the strangers in his people's midst, and he ordered our people enslaved. In fear of rebellion, Pharaoh decreed that all Hebrew boy children be killed. 2 midwives named Shiphrah and Puah defied his orders, claiming that the Hebrew women are so hardy they give birth before we arrive. Through their courage, a boy survived. Fearing for his safety, his family placed him in a basket and he floated down the Nile. He was found and adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, who named him Moshe, because min ha'mayim mitshitzu, from the water she drew him forth. She hired his mother Yocheved as his wet nurse. Thus he survived to adulthood and was raised as Prince of Egypt. Although a child of privilege, he became aware of the slaves who worked in the brickyards of his father. When he saw an overseer mistreat a slave, he struck the overseer and killed him. Fearing retribution, he set out across the Sinai alone. God spoke to him from a burning bush, which, though it flamed, was not consumed. The voice called him to lead the Hebrew people to freedom. Moses argued with God, pleading inadequacy, but God disagreed. Sometimes our responsibilities choose us. Moses returned to Egypt and went to Pharaoh to argue the injustice of slavery. He gave Pharaoh a mandate which resounds through history, let my people go. Pharaoh refused, and Moses warned him that mighty God would strike the Egyptian people. These threats were not idle. 10 terrible plagues were unleashed upon the Egyptians. Only when his nation lay in ruins did Pharaoh agree to our liberation. Fearful that Pharaoh would change his mind, our people fled, not waiting for their bread dough to rise. For this reason, we eat unleavened bread as we take part in their journey. Our people did not leave Egypt alone. A mixed multitude went with them. From this, we learn that liberation is not for us alone, but for all the nations of the earth. Even Pharaoh's daughter came with us and traded her old title, Bat Pharaoh, daughter of Pharaoh, for the name Batya, daughter of God. Pharaoh's army followed us to the Sea of Reeds. We plunged into the waters. Only when we had gone as far as we could did the waters part for us. We mourn even now that Pharaoh's army drowned. Our liberation is bittersweet because people died in our pursuit. To this day, we relive our liberation that we may not become complacent, that we may always rejoice in our freedom.
Thank you, Melissa. Beautifully done. And now, if you turn to the 10 plagues, which you may see as imaginatively re-emojied, get it? Re-emojied here. And what we are going to be doing is we are going to be doing the 10 drops. Now, originally our plan was to have the Weisbard's Dower family, but unfortunately something came up. But we are very fortunate that Casey is going to be stepping in their place. And so let me share with you what we're doing, and then she'll take over. As we rejoice at our deliverance from slavery, we acknowledge that our freedom was hard-earned. We regret that our freedom came at the cost of the Egyptian suffering. For we are all human beings. We would like redemption to come without the harm of others, but that's not the way of this world. So what we do is we take out a drop of wine from our joy for each of the plagues as we recite them, and thus we have a little less sweetness in our celebration to acknowledge what has happened. So you can dip a finger, or if you're a little gentler than I am, you can use a spoon in your wine glass for a drop of each plague. Now we come to the 10 plagues, and more importantly, we come to Miss Casey.
Okay, I got my pinky out ready to go if everyone has theirs too. We have blood, dam, frogs, Zephardea, lice, kinim, beasts, arov, cattle disease or pestilence, dever, boils, shechin, hail, barad, locusts, arbe, darkness, choshech, and the death of the firstborn, makat bechorot. Even though we are happy that our Israelite ancestors escaped slavery, let us once more take a drop of wine as we together recite the names of these modern plagues. Pinkies out again. Hunger, war, terrorism, greed, bigotry, injustice, poverty, ignorance, pollution of the earth, indifference to suffering. I'm adding a bonus one for COVID-19 just because I feel like I can.
Thank you, Miss Casey. We appreciate it. My salt water is now a little more sanguine than it was before, but it is an important representation of the fact that we acknowledge that every good thing comes at a price. Everything comes at a cost. As in physics, so too in history, there is no free ride. But for us, it was remarkable. One of the most beloved songs that we have is Dayenu. It reminds us of the fact that God could have basically just pulled us out of Egypt, dumped us on the street corner in Midian, and that would have been it. And that would have been enough. Just to set us free would have been awesome, but God did so many more things for us. Not only did he bring us out, he took us through the desert, he fed us in the desert, God delivered us from threats in the desert, he brought us to the land of Israel and gave us the Torah and gave us our Shabbat and our holidays, and we built a society there. So for all these things, we are grateful. And so we say, Dayenu, it would have been enough for us. It would have sufficed if he'd only done one of these amazing things. but he did so much more. So we're going to sing 3 verses of Dayenu, which you will find on page
23.
23.
23.
So, Dayenu.
Ilu hotzi anu mi mitzrayim, hotzi anu mi mitzrayim, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et Shabbat, natan lanu et Shabbat, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et haTorah, natan lanu et haTorah, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu.
Now, I know if you've been to our past community seders, you know that what we normally like to do at this time is to beat each other with green onions. But given the one-to-one circumstances here, I felt like it would be a little distracting to Miss Nikki if I were just standing here beating her with onions while she was trying to sing. So you'll forgive us. When we are back together next year, we'll be able to do it to each other again with all the gusto and passive-aggressive behavior that we've done in the past. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we turn now to our second cup of wine. We recall the story of deliverance to freedom by blessing our second cup of wine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim. We praise God, the spirit of everything, who creates the fruit of the vine. Now, you may be noticing I'm not drinking a lot. I just don't drink and daven if I have, under these circumstances. So, but we're going to keep going. Now we come once again to the second washing. All right, and it's time to wash our hands again, but this time with a blessing, and put a little more water into the carpet over here. So the blessing goes, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al nitilat yadayim. And it's 3 over one hand, and then 3 over the other.
Right.
All righty. Do not attempt pouring water on the carpet at home. I am a trained professional. All right.
Okay.
And now we come to Motzi Matzah, which is going to be led by the inimitable Molly Marks. Miss Molly. Oh.
Oh.
Oh,
Miss
yeah,
Molly
I know.
Shore.
Unmute myself.
Can't see Miss
There
Molly's
she is.
face.
There we go.
There we go. A little better, Okay, so we're doing the motzi and then a special blessing for the motzi, or the bread as matzah, because matzah basically is bread. So we'll do the hamotzi first, and then we'll do it for the special occasion of it just being plain old matzah. So raise your matzah. Raise some matzah, right? We're going to do the 2 blessings. First one, bread. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And go ahead and take a bite. It's so tasty. Baruch atah Adonai,
Dry out.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'sivanu ala klitlat matzah. Take another bite. Now, if that hasn't been bad enough, voila. We're now going to, blessed are you, spirit of everything, who commands us to eat matzah. And then we're going to add the maror, the bitter herbs. In most cases, we use horseradish. That may be what you have on hand. And so the blessing for the maror down on page 26. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al akilat, thank you, maror. And so you want to put a little horseradish.
Here's the good stuff.
And if you think matzah was bad plain, this is where we're where we're suffering with those who were harmed and died during our Exodus. We do take recognition of their suffering and their loss as well. So, very hot this year, very hot. Okay, but we're going to temper that a little bit. And so we want to put, what we're going to do is we're going to make a Hillel sandwich. Now, the Earl of Sandwich, right? The Old English Earl of Sandwich, he's been credited for making the sandwich, right? But Hillel, back in the day, also did his own kind of sandwich. And he combined matzah, bitter herb, and lamb. Not what we normally use, the haroset, but the lamb. That was Hillel's sandwich. Use the lamb, bitter herbs, and matzah. Today, we mostly do harosis with our sandwich. And so you want to put a little harosis on there. Hot, but then we're going to temper it with wonderful, wonderful harosis. Little sweetness of freedom with the bitterness of loss. And actually, I find great pleasure in the mix of the two. There's something about it.
Just a tad of fruit.
I'm good. I think that's good. Okay. Done.
That was wonderful. And
thank you.
Miss Molly, please drink a glass of water. I have my mountain of maror here, and I took my piece directly off of it, and I'm suffering. But I don't have to sing. But Nikki has to sing, and she's going to take us to a new modern classic, just a tad of haroset, sung to the tune of a spoonful of sugar.
Page 28. Oh, back in Egypt long ago, the Jews were slaves under Pharaoh. They sweated and toiled and labored through the day. So when we gather Pesach night, we do what we think right. Maror, we chew to feel what they went through. Just a tad of haroset helps the bitter herbs go down. The bitter herbs go down. The bitter herbs go down. Just a tad of haroset helps the bitter herbs go down in the most disguising way. So after years of slavery, they saw no chance of being free. Their suffering was the only life they know. But baby Moses grew up tall and said he'd save them all. He did, and yet we swear we won't forget that a tad of haroset helps the bitter herbs go down. Woo! Bitter herbs go down, bitter herbs go down. Just a tad of haroset helps the bitter herbs go down in the most disguising way. While the maror is being passed, we all refill our water glass, preparing for the taste that turns us red. Although Maror seems full of minuses, it sure does clear our sinuses. But what's to do? It's hard to be a Jew. Just a tad of haroset helps
This
the
helps
bitter
the bitter
herbs
herbs
go down.
down.
The
The bitter herbs go down.
The bitter
The bitter
herbs go down. Just a tad of haroset helps the bitter herbs go down in the most disguising way.
Now, we would normally at this point break for dinner. We're not doing that. However, we did create an opportunity to do the safun, which we know as the finding of the afikomen. It's the entertainment that goes with the meal. And in this particular case, for those of you who are interested in participating in this, there will be a $10 reward to the person who finds the afikomen. Or if you prefer, I can get you a shirt that says, I found the afikomen and all they gave me was the stupid t-shirt. I'll give you either one of those things, all right? So, but this is how we're doing it this year. So there is a text that you may open up and look at. It is a Where's Waldo text in Egypt, and it is divided into a grid. And you need to search the entire picture, not to find Waldo, but to find the afikomen, all right? And the first person who on chat, not shouting it out, but on chat, posts the correct sector, going from, I think it's A to H, and then 1 to 14. The first person who finds the right sector holding the afikomen, you get the reward. There it is. I can see it being displayed. All right. So prepare yourself to do that. In the meantime, while they're doing that, I'm just going to call your attention to the Seder plate objects that shall not be named. All right. We, of course, have a tradition of going through and identifying all of the objects on the Seder plate. So we, for example, are commanded by Rabban Gamliel to hold up the shank bone. And I've got a real shank bone. I keep it in my freezer. And we're asked to identify what this is. And this represents the Pesach, that is the Passover offering that was slaughtered at the first Passover, the lamb, whose blood was then put on the doorposts and lintels of the houses of the Israelites to ensure that the destroyer, the angel of death, as later tradition identifies it, would not harm us, even as it was striking the firstborn of the Egyptians. The second thing we are commanded to call attention to is the maror. Now, this maror is a fabulously muscular piece of haroset, or really horseradish. And we have it on display here so that you can see it. Of course, many people turn it into a sauce. Last night, I got to experience the magnificent but horrific sauce created by Harold Harris that he donated to my Seder, and it was absolutely amazing. But now we go on to a third thing that we have to draw attention to, which is the matzah. The matzah, of course, we tell the story of how we didn't have time to make our bread leaven as we were leaving Egypt, though I will also observe unstated is the fact that this is the bread of poverty. This is the bread that slaves would eat. Leavened bread is a delicacy. Leavened bread is a treat. And if you were a slave in the land of Egypt, you would have eaten the simplest flatbread available between your tasks and work. So it is a reminder of slavery, even as it serves as a symbol of freedom. So it's a bit of a paradox. Now, in addition, we have a couple of other things going on here. Okay, of course, we've got the haroset, the sweet fruit compote, which most often we are told represents the mortar. of our labors in Egypt, which is a perfectly good interpretation, if a little strange, because it's sweet and pleasant to eat. And is that really how you want to perceive slavery? Now, I bet you some people did. I bet people became quite comfortable with their slavery. And in fact, we see later in the story of Exodus that once they're free, the people tend to complain. Well, it wasn't that bad in Egypt, right? So sometimes we're quite comfortable with our misery. So maybe that sweetness communicates something about our own psychology. However, I do have an additional interpretation that I like to share, not to dismiss the mortar, but I think it's referencing the Song of Songs. Now, you may not be aware of this, but the Song of Songs is read and recited every Passover. It represents, as an allegory, God's love for the people of Israel as he's bringing us out of Egyptian slavery. And throughout the song, there are all these references to nuts and fruits and spices. And so I think that this is the embodiment. You know, we Jews like to say that food is love. That this is supposed to represent God's love for us, the nuts and the fruit and the spices all brought together. So that's my interpretation of that. On top of that, we have this, the romaine lettuce. Why is there romaine lettuce on the plate? Because we know in truth that charoset, the adoption of horseradish, it's really a European thing. That probably our ancestors, when they first did the Seder, used lettuce as their bitter herb. And indeed, lettuce makes a better bitter herb than horseradish does. So don't tell anyone. And then, of course, the final and mysterious object is the roasted egg. Can be a symbol of spring. Many people interpret it that way. I think that's a fantastic interpretation. But the fact that it's roasted, I think, gives away the original intention of the rabbis, which is that it is supposed to represent the roasted sacrifice done in the temple at Passover time. We don't have the temple anymore, so we're not going to roast a second lamb. Instead, we just remind ourselves of the ancient temple through this roasted egg. Now, has anyone been able to figure out where the Hafikomen is in the picture?
I bet someone has.
What do we say? Bob, on the chat, do you see anybody who has been able to identify the location? Not yet, apparently. All right.
Melissa
All right.
Trapani has.
I see a note up here. Let me read it. Nope. Okay. So while people are hunting for the Afikomen, we will continue our service with a third cup of wine.
Oh boy.
Number 3. All right. And of course, if we didn't mention it, if I failed to mention it before, we drink 4 cups of wine to remind us that 4 times in the Torah, God promises that he will bring us out of slavery in Egypt. So we offer a l'chaim to God each and every time he did that for us.
Page 30.
All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. L'chaim. Checking my text messages. All right. And the correct answer is Melissa Trapani has found it in D12. Melissa, you're amazing. All right, Melissa, you get $10 or a t-shirt. We'll talk offline and arrange that for you. All right, so now we can, with a clear conscience, finish up our Seder. All right, so we're going to do Echad Mi Yodea, who knows one, but it's going to be sung by Nikki in English.
Here we go.
Ready? Single breath if you can, Nikki.
Oh, no,
not a single breath. No? Okay.
Who knows one? I know one. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows two? I know two. Two are the tablets of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows three? I know three. Three are the patriarchs. Two are the tables of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows four? I know four. Four are the matriarchs. Three are the patriarchs. Two are the tablets of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows five? I know five. Five are the books of the Torah. Four are the matriarchs. Three are the patriarchs. Two are the tablets of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows six? I know six. Six are the sections of the Mishnah. Five are the books of the Torah. Four are the matriarchs. Three are the patriarchs. Two are the tablets of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows seven? I know seven. Seven are the days of the week. Six are the sections of the Mishnah. Five are the books of the Torah. Four are the matriarchs. Three are the patriarchs. Two are the Torah, and two are the tablets of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Getting dizzy here.
Take a breath.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Who knows eight? I know eight. Eight are the days to circumcision. Seven are the days of the week. Six are the sections of the Mishnah. Five are the books of the Torah. Four are the matriarchs. Three are the patriarchs. Two are the tablets of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows nine? I know nine. Nine are the months to childbirth. Eight are the days to circumcision. Seven are the days of the week. Six are the sections of the Mishnah. Five are the books of the Torah. Four are the matriarchs. Three are the patriarchs. Two are the tablets of the covenant. One is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows 10? I know 10. 10 are the commandments at Sinai. 9 are the months to childbirth. 8 are the days to circumcision. 7 are the days of the week. 6 are the sections of the Mishnah. 5 are the books of the Torah. 4 are the matriarchs. 3 are the patriarchs. 2 are the tablets of the covenant. 1 is our God in heaven and earth. Who knows 11? I know 11. 11 are the stars in Joseph's dream. 10 are the commandments at Sinai. 9 are the months to childbirth. 8 are the days to circumcision. 7 are the days of the week. 6 are the sections of the Mishnah. 5 are the books of the Torah. 4 are the matriarchs. 3 are the patriarchs. 2 are the tablets of the covenant. 1 is our God in heaven and earth. 12. Who knows 12? I know 12. 12 are the tribes of Israel. 11 are the stars in Joseph's dream. 10 are the commandments at Sinai. 9 are the months to childbirth. 8 are the days to circumcision. 7 are the days of the week. 6 are the sections of the Mishnah. 5 are the books of the Torah. 4 are the matriarchs. 3 are the patriarchs. 2 are the tablets of the covenant. 1 is our God in heaven and earth.
Can't do 13.
Can't.
With my fingers. I can't do 13.
Oh, okay. No 13?
No 13. We
No
just have
13?
to imagine it.
Okay.
Right.
Who knows 13? I know 13. 13 are the attributes of God. 12 are the tribes of Israel. 11 are the stars in Joseph's dream. 10 are the commandments at Sinai. 9 are the months to childbirth. 8 are the days to circumcision. 7 are the days of the week. 6 are the sections of the Mishnah. 5 are the books of the Torah. 4 are the matriarchs. 3 are the patriarchs. 2 are the tablets of the covenant. 1 is our God in heaven and earth. Woo!
So, in case you're wondering why we do all these crazy songs towards the end, it is the goal in the traditional Seder to try and finish up at least at midnight or later. So the more you have long strung out songs, the more you're able to
Okay.
fill in that space. But it's also, of course, the whole purpose of the Seder is to teach our children. So Mi Yodea is meant to use numbers to help the children think about seminal Jewish symbols and objects and things like that. So that, however, does not explain our next song, Chad Gadya, of course, the most famous song associated with the Seder. It too is a long strung out song, but its purpose is to serve as really an allegory. It's a hard allegory. If you love cats or dogs or goats or sticks or butchers, you see everything comes to tragedy. But the idea is that we, Israel, are the kid who is subject to suffering in this time, but that each of our enemies consume each other over time until finally that logic of history is ended. God destroys the angel of death. Everyone, the Jews and all people, are finally redeemed in the ultimate way. And so, however difficult our times are now, the idea is that in the time to come, in a world to come, we will know total healing and peace, whether we're the goat or not. All right, so Chad Gadya.
Okay, let's start out with the chorus.
And fourth cup of wine's coming after that.
Oh,
Yes, so just to anticipate.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. An only kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the cat and ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the dog and bit the cat that ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the stick and beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the fire and burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the water that quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the ox and drank the water.
Oh, we're not even the ox there. Okay, keep going. We're at the ox.
Then came the ox and drank the water, quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Here comes the butcher.
Here comes the butcher.
Then came the butcher and killed the ox who drank the water that quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the angel of death, who slew the butcher and killed the ox who drank the water that quenched the fire that burned the stick that beat the dog that bit the cat that ate the kid, my father bought for 2 zuzim. Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Then came the Holy One, blessed be He, who
and
destroyed the angel of death, who
Slew
slew the butcher and killed the ox and drank the water and quenched the fire and burned the stick and beat the dog and bit the cat and ate the kid.
My father bought for 2 zuzim. Haggadah, Haggadah. Nicely done. That was a good twofer. Okay, so now we come to this 4th blessing, and then we will talk about Elijah. We begin with, as we come to the end of the Seder, we drink 1 more glass of wine.
All right.
This is the final cup. We give thanks for the celebrating Passover together, for these traditions that help inform our lives and guide us in our actions and aspirations, for all of its peculiarity, for all of its silliness. This highlights some of the most important things the Jews believe in and work towards. So join me in the 4th blessing for wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen l'chaim. And now the winner of our Afikomen, Melissa Trapani. I can't think of anybody more appropriate to talk to us about the cup of Elijah and the tradition of Elijah and the cup of Miriam.
We begin by pouring wine into the prophet's Elijah's cup from our own cups until it is filled. This helps us remember that we must all contribute our best talents and energies to help fulfill Elijah's promise of a peaceful world. Elijah dedicated himself to defending God against non-believers, and as a reward for his devotion and hard work, he was whisked away to heaven at the end of his life. Tradition says that Elijah will return to earth one day to signal the arrival of the Messiah and the end of hatred, intolerance, and war. As we sing Elijah's song, we watch to see if the wine in Elijah's cup decreases even a little, a sure sign that he has visited.
Right now she's doing it.
She's singing it?
No, she's pouring wine.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's not in the.
Okay, it's not there. Okay.
Is Nikki
All
going
right.
to sing or am I going to sing?
Or it may not go back to us.
Am I singing?
There we go.
There you
All
go.
right. As we now pause from the cup of Elijah, we're going to sing Eliyahu Hanavi in the hopes that Elijah will arrive. I'm going to sing for a change.
Because
I'm sending Nikki to the door to see if Elijah is here.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera b'yameinu, Yavo aleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi. And now we return to Melissa to share with us about the cup of Miriam.
Miriam's cup is filled with water to symbolize Miriam's well, a magical source of water that lasted during the 40 years the Jews spent wandering in the desert. We also honor Miriam's role in liberating the Jewish people, first by saving Moses from death on the Nile, and then helping us raise him. Miriam's cup also celebrates the critical role of all Jewish women, past and present. This is the cup of Miriam, to symbolize the water that gave us new life to Israel as we struggled with ourselves in the wilderness. Blessed are you, Spirit of the universe, who sustains us with endless responsibilities and enables us to reach a new place. For the sake of our righteous women, where our ancestors redeemed from Egypt. L'chaim.
Thank you, Melissa. Now for Hallel this year, a celebration and final liturgical thanks. We offer a prayer for our country. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless this country and all who dwell within it. Help us to recognize the blessings of our lives and circumstances, to be vigilant and compassionate and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help us to channel our frustrations and our disappointment so that it motivates us to act. Help us to be humble in our fears, knowing that as vulnerable as we may feel, that there are those at greater risk and that there is holy work to be done by standing with one another. Help us to once again taste the sweetness of liberty, to not take for granted the freedoms all enjoy. Source of all life, guide our leaders with righteousness, that they may use their influence and authority to speak blessing and act with justice. May all who dwell in this country enjoy its freedoms, be protected by its laws. May the nation use its power and wealth to be a voice of justice, peace, and equality for all who dwell on earth. And may we be strong and have courage to be bold in our actions, deep in our compassion, to uproot indifference, intolerance, and violence in all of its forms, and to celebrate the many faces of God reflected in the wondrous diversity of humanity, to welcome the stranger and the immigrant, and to honor the gift of those who seek refuge and possibilities here, as they have since this nation was born. Let justice well up like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream.
Amen.
And so we come to the conclusion of our community Seder. Our Seder is over. According to Jewish tradition and law, we have had the pleasure to gather for a Seder this year online, and we hope to once again have the opportunity in the years to come, not just online, but face to face. We pray that God will bring health and healing to the people Israel and all the people of the world. As we say, Lishana Haba'ah Berushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, let's sing it out.
All right. Lishana haba'ah berushalayim. Lishana haba'ah berushalayim. Lishana haba'ah berushalayim. Lishana haba'ah berushalayim.
Shavua Tov, Hag Sameach. I think we are looking at the true time of our liberation. I don't think it's far away that we will once again be able to gather together as a community and to celebrate our traditions face to face, panim el panim, as the Torah tells us. We miss you. We look forward to being with you again. And we hope that the rest of your holiday is a sacred and comforting and inspiring one.